Have a look at Frank Zane and Shawn Ray, two of the most aesthetically pleasing bodybuilders in the history of the sport. But considering it is somewhat of a sport, I mean, these guys are athletes. Well, alright, it's more of a pageant. But you know what I mean. There has been evolution between the likes of Frank Zane and Shawn Ray. This is late 70s for Frank Zane. And whenever doing a Frank Zane, or whenever I do a Frank Zane comparison, you can't really stick with 1 year. You gotta kinda just mix and match, get the best pictures available. Now, Shawn Ray, he's a mass monster compared to Frank Zane. Come on, let's face it. This is 1994. He had packed on quite a bit of muscle. So, and I'm sure those of you who read the title, you know that I'm not using 1994. I think it's too much mass. For this comparison, I think 1992 will do just fine. So we're going to take a look at Frank Zane using various years. Late 70s if we can. This is 77, I think, for Frank Zane here. Looks pretty good. Looks peeled anyway. Midsection. Looks good. Ray pulling a vacuum. So if you like abs better, you're going to pick Frank Zane in this comparison, right? Well, thing about it is, Frank Zane, and I like this guy's physique. He has detail where people didn't have detail back in the day. He was really good. But even back in the 70s, his opponents, guys like Boyer Coe, Robbie Robinson, Mike Menzers, they were all dwarfing poor Frank in the leg department. His wheels were a little bit small, slender. And what evolves more than anything? The legs. And Shawn Ray is packing heat. He has some quads here. Look at the teardrops on this guy. Incredible for sure. So it makes Frank Zane look pretty... Looks like he has dandelion spores. Here in 1970... What did I say? 7? Here's a little bit later for Frank. And you can see he had improved. I think this is his 79. I think this is his last Olympia win. So I think each year he might have put on a little bit of size, maybe, depending on what he did in between. He won 3 of them. He won the 3. Good for you, Frank Zane. Looks good here, though. His arms look fuller. Actually, surprising me how good he is doing in the arm department. So if anybody ever asks you, was there ever a difference between Frank Zane's? Yes, absolutely. Arm department, for sure. He put on a couple of inches. Here's the front lat spread. Difficult to say, difficult to judge going off this picture of Frank Zane, but you can really tell he did pull off a good pose. He had detail in his quads, his little tiny quads. He had detail all in the upper body. It looks like a nice blooming flower. But so does Shawn Ray. And Shawn Ray has all kinds of meat. Look at the quads there. There's steaks. I mean, this guy would definitely be good for a couple of roasts. Whereas Frank Zane, you'd probably go hungry. No, actually Frank does look pretty good, guys. He does. He just doesn't have the size. He definitely has the quality. So both of these dudes dueling it out from the front point of view, I would suggest. Turn to the side. You know what? Look at the 70s haircut of Frank Zane. That's right. This is not even late 70s. This is early 70s. We're talking that music, you know what music I'm talking about. They did it back then. They played it on those movies. Frank Zane, 1972. 1992. 10 years? 20 years difference. 20 years difference because Frank, he could be seen in 1982 at the Olympias, things of that nature. And, it's a 10-year difference between Shawn Ray and Frank Zane. But this is 20 years of evolution. But dare I say, Frank Zane looks crisp. Looks very good in the tricep. Fuller than Shawn Ray's, I can tell you that. Right now. I definitely like Frank Zane in this one. Aesthetically pleasing. Much more. Let's turn these two specimens around and take a gander at the backs. Frank, not bad. Not bad at all. I don't think anybody back in the day, you get your Arnolds, your Sergio Olivas, Serge Nabres, Franco Columbos, I don't really think any of them had a weak back. Frank Zane included. Not bad at all. Got some traps. He features Christmas trees. And arms, not bad at all, too. But you look over at Shawn Ray. He is showing the evolution of bodybuilders. The glutes, which didn't matter. And I know. Who cares about striated glutes? Who cares? I guess the IFBB and the judging criteria, you can definitely see one has glutes, one doesn't have glutes, but it's more than just that. It's the size of the lower half as well. Separation in the hamstrings, they just didn't need it back then, so they didn't get it. If you're not going to be required to have it, why get it? Now, here's a little coup for Frank. Here's this shot here. Huh? Now tell me if I'm wrong. He's shredded to the diced. He's in glaciers. He's peeled. Does look good, doesn't he? And like I said, he features Christmas trees. He does indeed feature Christmas trees. Presenting. Here's the abs and thigh. Presenting the new adventures of Pinocchio. You guys remember that? Am I making that up? It could be. Now, this is a strong shot for both guys, so really take your pick. Frank Zane, so legendary. Look at those obliques twist into the lower half. Ah! Ah! And then Shawn Ray, abs etched out of stone. And quads. More modern day quads, although guys like Tom Platz had arguably better than that. But anyway, that's not the argument. No, look at this. Look at this. One of my favorite, my favorite abs and thighs here for Frank Zane. The little tiny blue posing trunks, bows, and also Shawn Ray. He's hitting the bows a little bit more aesthetically pleasing as well. What a showdown in Little Tokyo. I'm here to tell you, that was a good old film. Showdown in Little Tokyo. Rated R, though. Viewer discretion definitely advised. Some violence in that film. Good one, though. It's a good one. And here's the most muscular, I guess. Frank Zane. He looks like one of those statues that you would see, that you would dig up somewhere, or the Greek statues. This is clay. He was the Caesar of salad. Whatever, you know what I'm... Sing! One of those godlike physiques. Shawn Ray's right into that stuff, too. His house, all pillars and statues and things of that nature. As he should be, because his physique resembles of such. If you were going to create a physique, it would look like Shawn Ray's, or it would look like Frank Zane's. And to be honest with you, Dan, isn't that what bodybuilding is all about? Creating a sculpture, a beautiful sculpture? And then you see big Marcus Rule come out with his great big muscles, and then you think, well, that's cool too. That's cool too, as long as it's not too smooth. Monsoon. Hit thumbs up on the video, guys, and please, if you have not already, please subscribe. That's my Sylvester Stallone, please. That's how he says it. Please. Have a great one, guys.